Right. If your front desk is saying, we don't take your insurance, but we can give you a super bill, you're probably losing patients literally every single day, and you don't even realize it. Now, in this video, I'm going to show you exactly why super bills don't help patients say yes to your care and what to say instead so that you can increase your conversions, and especially if you are running a cash or hybrid based practice, or maybe you just want to get out of network with some insurances. And so here's what we're going to cover in this video and in this training. Number one, why super bills don't work the way that you think that they should. Number two, we're going to talk about the hidden psychology behind insurance objections. Number three, we're going to talk about why and what your front desk should say within the first 2 minutes. And then lastly, I want to cover on point number four here, how does your front desk guide the call without being salesy or pushy? And in fact, this is the exact training that we use with our private clients and some of the information we share inside of our Skool community in our free front desk course, which adds $10,000 back to their practice every single month without finding new patients and spending a single additional dollar on marketing. And if you've been relying on super bills as your way of closing patients, this is going to change everything for you. So, the first big question out of the gate is, why do super bills not work the way that you think that they are? And here's kind of an analogy for you, and I think this really sums this up well. If you encountered somebody who was drowning out in the ocean, you came up on them on a boat, and they're completely drowning, like they're having a hard time staying above the water, and they're so elated to see you. And instead of you physically reaching your hand in and pulling this person out of the water, instead what you do is you offer them a map of how to get back to the shore. It's kind of a nice thing. It might actually be helpful. It's a piece of information that ultimately would help them reach safety, but no one even knows like what the heck that is, right? It's like well, you wouldn't do that in that situation. And that's kind of the equivalent of what's happening for a lot of you guys as you are offering super bills to your patients. They're drowning, and I'm going to give them a map. It seems silly, and that's exactly what a super bill is. It's, hey, let me give you this complicated piece of paper that you don't even know what it is. What you can then do is you can take this super bill, you can take it to your insurance company. You're going to have to look up on their website, how do I do this complicated billing? How do I ultimately, find out what codes I need to use, exactly what form, exactly the format to do it. I need to figure out how to send it. Can I fax it? Can I email it? Do I have to like first class mail it? And then from there, there's going to be this long 3 to 6 month waiting period. And from there, that 3 to 6 month waiting period, they probably are going to deny it. You're going to have to resubmit that super bill again. And you may at that point only have it applied to your deductible, or you may get nothing back, or maybe you get 10% back. I don't know, right? It really just depends on your policy. Like, that's ultimately what you're telling this person. And that sounds like the worst trade in the face of history. Why on this earth would I take a piece of paper, go through all of that effort? People are busy. Most practice owners and front desk feel bad about even talking to or even texting or calling their patients multiple times. And in this particular case, you are offering them something that's going to take an exuberant amount of time and energy, and they may get nothing back. Right? That's a terrible trade. And ultimately, your patient has no idea what it is you're talking about. And now they're already a little unsure about working with you because of you're telling them you're out of network and the cost and all that good stuff. And now what's happening is we are trying to give them other additional work and something that they don't even understand. This is now even more fear, doubt, and uncertainty that we're giving them. It's like, I don't know how to do all that. It sounds kind of complicated. Even if you offer to do that for them, it still is making the conversation about money. And that's the issue with super bills is you're trying to draw someone in with logical and money-based conversations, and you'll lose that conversation a lot of the time because patients ultimately are going to buy based on their emotions, and they're going to try to justify the cost of it, right? And super bills don't give you the ability to do it. So this is really why super bills don't work. And number two, the next point I want to make is really what is behind the "do you take my insurance" question? Because I think most people think that it means one thing when really it doesn't mean that. Most people think, oh, they just want to know about their insurance. But the reality is when people are calling into your clinic, they want to know, can you actually help me? That's all they care about. Is this the right place? Is this the right time? And can you ultimately get me where I want to go? Yes or no? That's the question, right? And for you, if you can't ultimately help them, then and then they're unsure of that, and then now you tell them about a super bill, there's even less reason for them to want to come in. And so what we need to do is the reason people ask that question is because they have fear, they have doubt, or they have uncertainty. They're fearful that maybe of the procedure that you guys do, or fearful that something that you are going to give them is going to be painful and not make it better. There's doubt around whether or not this even works for the thing that they have going on, and then there's uncertainty because what happens when I show up, and what happens if I pay? And typically people are using their insurance to fall back on and calm down some of that fear, that doubt, and that uncertainty. And then when they don't have that to fall back on, you have to ultimately be able to overcome that. And so offering a super bill isn't going to do that. It's only going to make that fear, that doubt, and that uncertainty even worse because you don't know what's going to happen. They don't know what's going to happen with a super bill. And so now I've made someone who was on the fence even more on the fence and probably even tipping over the edge to the other direction. And that's ultimately what we don't want to have happen in these situations. And so offering a super bill, very worthless advice, right? Even I've never seen anyone just raise their hand and say, "Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. I'll be happy to do that," right? Because even if somebody is haphazardly interested in that idea, they're going to submit it, and you know what's going to happen? They're going to say, "Well, I want to wait on and to see how much I'm going to get back," or they'll call their insurance company, and then they turn into a complete ghost, and you're never going to get them booked. And so how this fear, doubt, and uncertainty and talking about super bills, ultimately we can't be talking about that. And we need to instead, my third point of this is what am I supposed to say instead in the first couple minutes of the phone call to win this person over? Because what happens right now when I would be to call your clinic, somebody would say, "Yeah, what's it cost? Yeah, can I get scheduled? Oh yeah, we're out of network, but I can give you a super bill." And within the first minute and a half, we're talking about cost and money and super bills and all this other nonsense that ultimately isn't going to get somebody over the hump and ultimately where they want to go, right? And so now, when I've got somebody on the fence and I've got this question that comes out, the best thing to do is acknowledge their question, redirect it, and be the leader of this phone call and actually guiding this person to book. What most of your front desk are doing is they're just answering questions. How much does it cost? What do you guys do? And when can I come in? Right? Do you take my insurance? Like those are all logistical based questions, and that's somebody I would define as a call taker, right? Meaning they just pick the phone up, they answer logistical questions, and they just drag their feet and kind of along the way here for the person that they're talking to. And ultimately, they'll 9 out of 10 times lose that particular person. And so you, as the clinic owner, now has to spend more money on marketing. You have to do all of these things that you try to do to drive revenue to the clinic, and it just doesn't get you there, right? Which is super frustrating. And you think, hey, more and more marketing is going to get me there, and it will a little bit. But getting the person who's a call taker out of the seat of the front desk and getting somebody who's a plan of care closer, that's what's ultimately going to drive growth for the practice. And so we acknowledge and we redirect this question out of the gate. And then now I need to guide this person to booking, right? And so that question comes up, and then I want to just start asking questions about what's going on with them. And it's so easy for you guys. You can find anybody with a pulse on the street to be a call taker. I could probably call my mom tomorrow and she could probably step in and just start picking up the phone for the practice, right? But I know my mom doesn't have the skill sets to be a plan of care closer, right? Doesn't have the ability and the things to say and to know how to overcome some of these objections. Ultimately, that's what most of you guys have is you have a call taker taking these phone calls. So acknowledge and redirect the insurance question and all of that good stuff and save it till the very end. Now, once we do that, ultimately what needs to be happening to get this person to actually want to book with you without being salesy and without being pushy, what you need to do is you need to start asking them questions and your front desk needs to be a plan of care closer. Where now we carry a 7 to 15 minute phone conversation that guides this person to booking. What's going on right now? Why is it important to them? How long has it been going on? What are their main goals outside of getting out of pain? And guiding that person to make the best decision for their health, right? And that's where it takes a lot of finesse. And this is where I don't like to use scripts and those kind of things. So many folks like to have this physical script where they're just being boxy with the things that they ask and talk about. But ultimately, I want to have something that's much more robust where I'm connecting with this person, guiding them to booking. And then at the very end of the phone conversation, I'm going to tell them, hey, we're out of network. I'm going to tell them the price. I'm going to tell them exactly all of the details that we've talked about up to this point. And so the big things I want to see are somebody who's ultimately going to be a plan of care closer and guide them. So quit trying to use your super bills, quit trying to use logistics, and quit talking about price and money within the first 2 to 3 minutes of a phone conversation because it's going to be very, very hard to book somebody that way. And so if this video, struck a nerve, good, because this is one of the most expensive habits that I see in cash practices, right? Especially as they start to run advertising. And the fix is simple. You train your front desk to ultimately lead the phone call and not rely on scripts and not talk about money and not being a call taker, somebody who talks about logistics. And so we need them to uncover their true desire and want to come in and build value first every single time. And if you build value first, you're going to book more patients. And so, if you want more trainings like this, I've literally built out an entirely free front desk course for you. All you have to do is follow the link down below. It's got hours and hours of free trainings as it relates to the front desk. It's got most of the things I know about mastering the first phone call and getting patients to show up excited for their first session and ultimately excited to work with you long term. So, look forward to seeing you inside the Skool community. Talk soon.